Welcome to Lower the Bar with John and Joe. Remember to breathe. This is your Power Hour. Hello, everybody. Hey, welcome back. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great.
Good.
How was your week? Anything exciting happened to you?
Oh, a lot. As usual.
Yeah.
I had a good week. A lot of putting out fires.
Healing animals too this week.
Yes, I've worked on animals. I've had friends in crisis. Excuse me. So that's been interesting. But it's been wonderful to support and to help navigate their lives and to have impact on them. So it always feels so wonderful to be able to provide that for someone. It's really humbling, Joe.
We love what we do, don't we?
I couldn't see myself really doing anything else for the rest of my life.
And we had a class Saturday right here in
the
our office.
It was wonderful.
It was wonderful. It was very, very satisfying. And the next class we have,
Yes.
do we dare advertise it? Well, we can have as many people to this class because it's outside.
Yes.
We are having a class on the last Sunday in April. Do you remember the date?
I think it was the 27th, which
Yeah.
was a Saturday. So we're going to do
No,
it.
it's a Sunday. It's a Sunday,
right,
remember?
Right. Sunday.
Where it's the last Sunday in April at the estuary in Round Lake Estuary.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone's interested in what we're going to do that day and how to get there, please email either John or myself, and we will send you the text that we send to everyone else. It's $40 for, we're not sure, probably 2.5 hours.
3 hours. It's always 3 hours.
I thought maybe we were going to shorten it because of where it was, but it's not going to start till 10 o'clock in the morning. So if you're interested, let us know. So today we're going to talk about the wisdom of feeling guilty. Now, last week we talked about anger and how we're so triggered by different things to be angry.
Yes.
And this week it's going to be the twin sister of anger, and it's called guilt. Now, for those of you who are new to the podcast or just needing a little reminder, this is the book that I use. It's Secret Language of Feelings. It was written by Cal Banyan, who is my mentor, whom I learned to become a master hypnotist from, and many other things. I've taken lots of classes with him, and he's amazing. All my clients get this book, and we work through identifying how they relate or experience 8 different emotions. And the ones that they feel are the target emotions that they want to get control of. Those are the ones that we really hone in on in our sessions. So today we're going to talk about guilt.
Just a curious question, though, on
Sure.
that note, Joe. Do you find your clients all kind of have that same dynamic in expressing those emotions and feelings, or?
Absolutely not. Everybody's different. Some people say, "Oh, I don't have any anger." And I may find out through working with them, they're so passive, they need to have anger and express what it is that they're concerned about.
I see. Well, I'm really asking you for our audience because I understand that I want them to see that we are all individuals.
Absolutely.
And everybody in the same, narrative everyone talks about. Everyone grieves differently. It's the same thing.
Yep.
That's a really good point. Everyone should be aware of that narrative, that everyone is an individual. And just because they see something doesn't mean they're looking at it through your lens.
Oh, absolutely.
They don't
They aren't.
Exactly.
You have to assume that they aren't.
Yes. So, I think if we can understand that, it will help us even get along better. Because again, remember, we're so reactionary in our lives. So if we can identify that, not everybody sees it the way we do, it helps us. Because when we don't get that acknowledgement, or we don't get validated from when we express ourselves, we tend to get angry or aggressive, or, you're not paying attention, or why don't you understand? All these triggers happen, speaking of triggers.
Yeah.
And, people should be aware of that.
Yeah.
Because if you have awareness of that, you can navigate your life much easier too, on some level.
And everybody's personality is different, so they deal with guilt differently. I mean, guilt is the perception that you've done something unfair.
Yes,
And
you feel responsible.
You feel responsible for it. And sometimes, very often, I work with clients to help them understand this is not your journey. This is not your role to fix X, Y, and Z. There is no reason for you to feel guilty because that's not your job. And sometimes they have a hard time with that. They feel like they need to fix things. So first we overcome that. But today we're talking about really things that you feel guilty about.
I want to make a little star next to that, because we really need to talk about getting into not today, but as a topic, getting into relationships where, and a lot of women do this, and men do too, but where they find someone that they feel they need to fix.
Oh.
In a you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
In a relationship, and they repeat the same mistake,
or they believe they can fix it.
Right, exactly. And I'm here to tell you, people, that ain't happening.
Yeah,
you can't change someone. But I think that it made me think of that when you said that.
You can help him change himself or herself.
Yes,
but if your goal is, I'm not going to stay with him unless he changes or she changes, or
you enter the relationship as an agenda that I'm going to fix this person
because I don't really like the way they are, except maybe a few things.
Right. Yeah, no. That's not going anywhere. So it made me think of that when you said that. So I wanted to bring that up because I think that's very important. Because
I do too.
Many of us suffer from that. I was in relationships when I was much younger where that kind of drove the narrative for me, and feel like I had to do something or help them. Or
did you fix them?
No.
That's what we're talking about. No. And
so continue. I'm
many
sorry.
times they don't feel like they need to be fixed.
That's right. This is
all right.
So true.
So first of all, when you're feeling guilty, identify the feeling. Sometimes people don't even think, oh, I really feel guilty about how I treated so-and-so yesterday at a party or something. Identify your feeling. And then think about how you responded to it. And that's usually what you're not happy with. So what are you going to do about it? Now you need to change your response. So let's talk about what are some of the things. Let's say you went to a party last night and there was a woman there that you didn't like. And I'm speaking woman to woman. So you were kind of rude to her. But you feel bad. She didn't deserve that. You don't know why you don't like her. What are you going to do about it? What do you think she should do about it?
Well,
depends on how well she knows her, first of all.
True, but also in the same narrative as everyone processes differently, and everyone handles a situation in their own way. There are many facets to that question, Joe.
Absolutely.
So, maybe how I react to it is going to be different than how you react to it.
Well, that's why I'm asking you, and then I'll tell you how I react to it.
I probably would have apologized.
But now that you've done it and it's the next day, how are you going to handle it? Because you're feeling guilty.
I'm letting go of it.
Okay.
Now, I couldn't have said that to you, 5 years ago or 10 years ago. I probably would have handled it much differently. But, if we go around our life worrying about every little thing we do or how we hurt someone, that's not healthy either. We need boundaries, so that's very important. And again, consciousness of being rude or things like that go on. But to hold on to that,
you don't have to hold on to it. I do something
Joe,
different.
Okay, you do, but a lot of people hold on to guilt for
right.
their entire
and
life.
You're right. Until they see that person again, and then they're all nervous.
Yes.
If you are sincerely sorry that you did that, there's no reason you can't call up and say, you know, I was really out of line. I'm sorry about that.
But you bring up an interesting point. If you're feeling guilty, you're obviously coming to some kind of terms internally, right? So when you just said that, well, only if you're really genuine or really feeling that. But I would think you would be if you're feeling guilt. There's some kind of reciprocity internally that goes, oh, I made a mistake, or I treated someone poorly and this is impacting me.
But there's also part of some people that says, but I can't stand her anyway, so too bad.
Well, that's how we
That's-
justify for ourselves.
right.
But I don't
And
think that's a healthy way to clear it.
Oh, I don't either.
No.
I don't either. No.
I don't think that serves you. I think that just sort of placates yourself. I don't think the act of doing that, you're not holding space for yourself.
Okay.
You're doing a disservice to you.
And you might, if you really don't like that person, you're not going to call them up and say, I'm sorry.
Well,
that was
right,
rude to you."
exactly.
So that's when I would just forgive myself and say, I'm going to choose to act more kindly than
I
next
think
time.
that's it. But I think if you don't really like them, why are you engaging with them in the first place?
Oh, sometimes they're just there in the space of where you're
No,
talking.
yeah. I
And,
understand.
you know, and the immaturity, emotional immaturity, you just give them a knock.
Okay, I get that. All right.
Okay. It's not nice, but.
Right.
So always there is a 1, 2, 3 step with any emotion. First, you identify it. And it doesn't matter if it's anger, guilt, it doesn't matter what it is. Identify the feeling and admit, yeah, I'm feeling this way. Then ask yourself, do I deserve to feel this way? Was someone unfair, or was I unfair to someone? Yes. And then see what your response was to that. Then the very next question is so important. How's my response working for me? If it's not working for you, you need to change your response. And whenever we're talking about emotions, that's the only thing you can change, is change your response. Doesn't matter if it's anger, guilt, fear, change your response. Because things are going to come up. You're not going to get through the rest of your life without feeling guilty.
No,
Right?
that's not happening.
No. So you're just going to do a reality check. Should I really feel guilty because I did that? And you know, I just talked about something that's kind of
You know what's really interesting, and it just came to me now. There's a quality of guilt that's really beautiful, in a sense, because it in a way forces us to look inward in our behavior.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So there's
and
sort
evaluate it.
Yes.
And evaluate our response. It's totally looking inward.
But for some reason, it's the emotion that goes to the front of the line. Because like if I'm angry or if I did something, I'm resonating in that anger. I'm not thinking about it. But guilt tends to already, the word puts me in sort of an observatory kind of position. You know what I mean by
and
that?
it's definitely negative energy. Yeah.
But you're looking at yourself because like, oh, I'm feeling guilty because my subconscious is already saying this doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
To do something to another person or to have an impact in a person or a scenario that the outcome wasn't that great or it was really negative or dark. It's like innately there's a mechanism internally, and I just looking at that now, which I've never looked at it that way before, but I'm seeing how it can be what it represents. I never looked at it like that, and for some reason you were talking, and it just sort of absorbed that way, and I'm like, yeah, like if I'm upset or have other emotions, I don't tend to look inward. I don't automatically begin to feel things. I'm angry, so whatever that that's the topic awareness of that moment. Where guilt, it's much more reflective. Like, what did I do? What can I change? When I'm in anger, I'm not.
It's often justified.
Right. Well, that's a really good point. I'm not vibrating in that space at all. I'm the act of guilt is almost like brings you inward, is what I'm saying. You're thinking
because it's
inwardly.
all about how you're feeling.
Yes.
Because you created
Right, exactly.
whatever but sometimes you really have to ask yourself if your perception of it is accurate, Because I know I have lots of clients. They feel guilty because they don't like their in-laws. They feel guilty because...
Right.
And
But
then
those
they
are
tell me,
constructs.
yeah. And I say, why are you feeling guilty? Look at how they treat you. Don't feel guilty. They're getting what they asked for. You don't have to be unkind to them, but that's why you really have to look at guilt and see if perceptually it is the right thing to feel in that situation. Especially, don't just assume, yeah, I deserve to feel guilty. No. I had something happen yesterday.
Okay.
I
Share.
It's so little, but, and well, I'll just tell you. I went to the store and I bought a few things, and I had bought a lot of seeds for my garden
Okay.
the day before someplace else, but I couldn't find red lettuce.
Okay.
So I said to my husband, while you were over at Ocean State, did you see red lettuce? No, there wasn't any. So I go over to Ocean State. First thing I see is the red lettuce.
Of course you did.
So I put it in my basket, and I bought a lot of other things, checked out. When I got home, I realized I had put the red seed in a side pocket of my pocketbook that was flapped open. I didn't realize that. I probably just threw it in. So I hadn't paid for it.
Oh.
Now I said, oh my God, should I go back? And then I thought, that's silly. I will, next time I'm there, tell them that and bring the slip, because that's the way I am. But I don't feel guilty about it. I didn't do it on purpose.
Of course not.
I know it.
Yeah.
I know. So that's just, there's things to be feel guilty about. Like, let's say you're having a relationship with your husband's brother.
Okay, now
we're getting guilty.
Now it's getting sorted now. So
Yes, but I'm saying there's
I
things that
understand.
you
No, I
should
get it.
feel guilty about
Yes.
and do something about.
Well, because I think it lands heavier, has a bigger impact because you kind of know you're not doing the right thing.
Kinda?
Well, my point is it's in the now as opposed to something that happened and then you look back and reflect later on where you go, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. You know, there's the awareness I'm talking about. There's
absolutely.
consciousness and then there's lack of consciousness.
And then there's all the excuses. But my husband
Yes.
doesn't pay attention to me.
Right.
But my husband, no. Wrong is wrong.
Right, I agree.
So guilt comes in all different sizes. You really have to evaluate it.
Absolutely. It's a difficult, as much as, you know, we experience it, it's a difficult emotion to navigate.
It really is, because I'm telling you, you know, in the phases that I do, one of the phases, the last phase I do in 5-Path is forgiveness of self. And I'm amazed at how many people can be 60 and 65 years old forgiving themselves for something they did when they were 10, 12.
You know what? I'm sorry to interrupt,
all right.
but something just popped into my mind. And I think it's important that I share it with our listeners. There are times when we are triggered and we feel guilt. And then there are other times we're triggered and we feel guilt, but it's different. And what I mean by that is when you have higher consciousness and you begin to work on yourself and you really understand what unbiased benevolence means, you come to a point where guilt is a really interesting trigger. Because how you handle, like you can come into a scenario with someone and point out something, or you've done something to them that you absorb and take on and you begin to feel guilty. But there's also a time where it's about respect and kindness. It doesn't necessarily, in the context you were just talking about, you know, we have this awareness, but we really need to be aware of it all the time. That if we're doing acts and things that begin to make us feel guilty, we need to filter prior to that to live our spiritual integrity.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yes. There comes a point too, it's not just an acknowledgement, it's I am going to look at this with compassion. whatever that, I'm going beyond the guilt. I'm going to the action that created the guilt. If you kind of can come to that space with benevolence, kindness, compassion, then you're creating sort of a scenario, a narrative that you don't have to feel guilty.
You're right. I'm going to give you a great example that just came into my mind. Several years ago, I had a client. Don't even remember what she initially came in for, but it came up that she could not stand her brother-in-law. And he was coming to visit. And she said, oh my God, he's coming to visit.
Mm-hmm.
And the thoughts of him being in my house for a long weekend.
I know who you're talking about.
I don't
now.
even remember. So don't, you
I won't
do?
tell.
Okay,
Yes.
don't, because I don't even remember. This just came, and of course we don't break confidences. And I said to her, you can switch this around. You can turn this around. She said, oh, I feel so guilty. I can't stand him. So it's hard to feel guilt because I really don't like him because he's boastful and he's this and he's that. I said, why don't you think about, I can find something about everybody that I like. Maybe not enough to hang with them, but that's where you need to focus. What are the things I like about this person if you have to spend time with them? So she decided, I'm going to have a good weekend when they come, because the whole family was coming. And she came back and said to me, I never said one negative thing, because you can nitpick and they know that you don't like them.
It's more than that, Joe. People are unaware, but they feel energy.
Of
They don't know what
course,
it is,
of
but
course.
they'll feel that
He knew.
negativity.
I'm sure he
Oh,
knew.
yes, absolutely.
So she said they had a wonderful weekend together, all of them. And it's changed their relationship.
Well, this is what happens when you lead with love.
Absolutely.
You can change everything. It's the most powerful force in the universe.
And now there's no more guilt. And not only that, just leading with love and honing in on the things you do like and that you do have in common. He was a totally different person.
Yes.
He knew. He felt her energy that she didn't like him. Plus, I'm sure he
That's
heard
what
through
he
the
was
family. Yeah.
That's what he was expecting.
Yes, of course.
No question.
So he was very happy, and they had a great weekend.
I know. That's a great story. I know.
Yeah.
So I think, again, having awareness of boundaries, of how things impact, and dealing with everything with clarity and focus, you can eliminate that emotion from your life experience. I mean, on some level, we all are triggered that way and we feel guilt at certain times, but I'm here to let our audience know that there is a way to handle this so it doesn't impact your life the way it can.
Right. Especially when you drive down the street and you see a homeless person with a sign up, haven't eaten, and you feel guilty because you don't give them some money. I mean, to me, that is not the kind of guilt that you ought to put upon yourself. You have no idea what's truth and what's fact.
Right.
And if it's truth, then
we've talked about this
give him
before.
some, yeah.
You could be enabling him and
Yes.
doing the worst possible thing
yes,
for that.
it's not your
person.
job to feed him. There's
No.
so many people, so many places he can go to be fed.
Resources to
Yes, so many
Take
resources.
advantage of.
So, but people tell me all the time, oh, I feel so guilty when I see them on the street. I have a nice home. Why do you feel guilty? You know, this is his journey. He chose this journey. He can change it.
Right.
Once I learned and believed, because a lot of people hear it, but they don't believe it, that before you even come into this life, you make a plan. You make a plan of how you're going to live in order to learn and teach lessons. And if that's your plan, no one has a right to go out of their way to change it. They can try to influence you, especially family members. But when it doesn't work, that's their journey. You can't feel guilty. Well, you can feel guilty about it.
Right.
But if you want to put that upon yourself, to me, being consumed with guilt is the beginning stages of an illness. So,
you know what's interesting? You bring up a really interesting point. I don't know if you were aware of it, but when we come into the body and we live our life, there are people that also choose to not do anything. Like that was their choice. I'm just going to come to this life and just not change. I have no interest in it. I'm just going to do this. And
Get what I can from it.
that's right. Everyone has their own agenda. And that's the other side of the pancake. There are a lot of people, and I am learning that process and that narrative, that there are just certain people that don't change, and it's not because they're bad, or it's just that's the choice they make. And we have to respect that.
Yes, we do.
We
It's
really
just
do.
difficult if you're married to that person,
Well,
or it's one
all
of your
right, Joe,
kids, or...
all right, you're throwing wrenches into the narrative.
But it really is.
But I know, I agree with you, but it's kind of funny. Yeah, so again, I guess, I'm thinking about what are we doing here? Like, we're talking to people that are listening to us on this podcast, and it's just about awareness of the world around you, focusing on things that just help you get by in life. And that's really what I think Joe and I are here to do, is to just let you guys know that there are ways to navigate and just make life easier for you. Because I hate to tell you people, we all deserve, all of us, every single person that walks this earth deserves, because we come to this world unconditionally loved and supported.
and lovable.
Yes. Everything after that is choice. So,
And free will.
yes, yes.
And free will.
Yes.
So in future podcasts, we'll be talking about other emotions from the Freedom Through Hypnosis. Perhaps next time we'll do feeling inadequate. Oh, that is the number one feeling that I've seen over the years that I've been doing my practice, is feeling inadequate. People can act like they got it all together, but the bottom line is, somewhere along the line, programs were put in their subconscious mind that they don't feel they're good enough. They don't feel they deserve this, but they don't show it because it's fake it till you make it.
True. I suffered from that a lot of my life, coming from a family that didn't know how to express love. That impacted me because they didn't. So feeling I deserved and worth and all of that fed into that.
Boy, that can cause so many problems in life.
It was, I mean, I don't look back at it now with regret or anything because
you've learned from it.
Yes, exactly.
And you've processed through it.
Yes, and I've become who I am because of this suffering. But that being said, it's not like it made it any easier, but, having that understanding, I see, as you talk about it, it doesn't trigger me, but it brings up stuff.
Cell memory.
Yeah, I've moved through it. Most of my childhood traumas and my past life traumas I've really worked on, but it doesn't mean it doesn't, you can clear the cell memory, but still you have the memory.
Right.
The memory
you're
never
clearing
goes away.
the emotional impact of it.
Yes, exactly. So
even if you're just reducing it a lot.
It doesn't matter how much you do as long as you're doing.
Yes, I agree.
And I can speak from personal experience and let our audience know that it took for me a lot of work. It was not easy. It was very painful. And it all started with creating a foundation internally, creating new parents for myself.
We need to do a podcast.
Oh, yeah, we will.
On how to, when we get through with this, we're going to do a podcast on how to become the parent that you deserved. You'd still deserve.
Or deserve. Not
deserve, right. Not past
tense.
tense. No, deserve.
Yes.
And how to be that parent and parent your little one. And your little one is the one you were born with before any negative impact was made on your subconscious mind. The one that was born, smiling, loving, deserving of being loved and loving, secure, feeling safe.
Exactly.
And sometimes we have to go back right into utero to find that time. But until next time, because this is the end of the road, it was great being here with you today. And we look forward to next week's podcast and teaching you that you're so worth it and how to move through feeling inadequate.
Yes. I think it's time that we look at these feelings internally that we have and not worry about what people think. You know, it's really not important, because at the end of the day, it's you and you alone.
That's
You
right.
go to bed, you're by yourself, even though you have family, your wife, kid, whatever. It's just you.
You need to love yourself.
Yes.
Not everybody's going to love you. So what?
Right.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So again, thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy you're here with us, and we are here to offer this information from our hearts with love.
And if you're interested in our outdoor class at the estuary, the Round Lake Estuary,
Get in touch.
please email us, one of us, at lowerthebar.com, and we'll get back to you. Thank you. See you
Have a
next
great
time.
week. Bye.